Bank of America is downsizing. A projected 40,000 jobs will be lost. We're here now with Greg Bordenaro from the Harvard Business Journal. Greg, welcome.
Thanks for having me
This is big news. Bank of America, a giant in the banking industry, purging its losses. What's going to be the bigger impact to the banking industry and even to Connecticut?
Well, Bank of America has been struggling for the last couple of years, stretching back from the financial crisis of 2008. They have a lot of bad mortgages on their books, which is causing these losses. And so they've decided that they're going to do a restructuring of the organization, basically, cutting $5 billion in costs and laying off.
It's a lot of money.
Laying off 30,000 people, which represents about 7 to 10% of their workforce.
I was reading out 30 could be 40. They're saying that 30 could end up being 40,000 jobs when it's all said and done.
Yep. And in Connecticut, Bank of America employs about 4,000 people, but they're not identifying the geographic breakdown of where the layoffs are going to come. But I'd imagine that some of them will be in Connecticut. And in fact, earlier this year, they've already announced 106 layoffs in Connecticut. They're laying off 106 between Hartford and East Hartford. But that's not related to this round of layoffs. So I'd imagine there'll be some more consolidation and job cuts in Connecticut related to this.
Did they get too big? Because it seems like a lot of folks who were customers had a hard time dealing with them, not from a customer service standpoint, but from reworking loans and trying to get out of bad loans. They didn't seem to be a very customer-friendly business in regards to that. Will this help them, and maybe if they downsize, become a little more people-friendly and working with folks? Part
of the strategy is to reduce the asset size of the bank. I think that a lot of people believe that they have gotten too big, and I would imagine that part of the downsizing will involve them maybe closing some branches, shuttering some branches, consolidating people into other offices so that they have more people available for consumers.
It's been the small banks began to emerge with the big banks like Bank of America, that the smaller community banks almost usurped them to some degree because you could deal with them face-to-face. They were more open to dealing with you on mortgage issues. To a large degree, does this help, or the smaller banks? Will it continue to help the smaller banks?
The banking industry is very, very competitive. There's always fights for market shares, and I could guarantee you the smaller banks are already out there getting ready to figure out how to take advantage of this. Mm-hmm. Bank of America is the largest bank in Connecticut, even though they're not based here. They own 22% of the deposits, which is the second closest bank to that is Webster Bank, which only owns 11%. But community banks have survived in Connecticut, have survived the economic downturn pretty well, and they're in a position probably to take advantage. I wouldn't be surprised if some community banks that have raised capital in the last couple of years, a couple have gone public, like Farmington Bank and Rockville Bank. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe go out and try to acquire some Bank of America branches.
Okay.
If that's where they head.
That's interesting. All right, how about this? Warren Buffett. I'm a cynical guy by nature now, Greg. So Warren Buffett in August decides he wants to invest $5 billion in Bank of America. Everybody says, wow, because everyone realizes this is a sort of the dysfunctional bank operation. Now a big guy like Buffett puts up $5 billion, and then a month later they're doing this massive downsizing. Any connection? I thought it was obviously a very coincidental timing. How does that work?
Well, I think Bank of America has been working on this plan, I think, to downsize for quite some time now. Actually, there's been rumors about it for probably more than 6 months before Warren Buffett came on.
But in your industry, when you hear a guy like Buffett is putting up $5 billion, if you're an investor in that field, you've got to figure Buffett knows something. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think Bank of America's stock price is so low right now that he sees it as a good future investment. Their stock price is trading below $10, and it's been there for a while.
But does that add to their credibility? When a guy like Buffett puts up $5 billion, does the average investor say, wait a second, even though they're trading low, I guess what I'm saying is, did Buffett know something? For him to give up $5 billion, to what degree did he know or influence them to do what they're doing now?
Well, Bank of America is so big, it's likely that they're not going to fail. So he's confident that the company will be around. It may be downsized a little bit, but I think he's confident that it'll be around for a long time, and that the stock price, if they could do a turnaround, will come back up. And I think investors will probably, if this restructuring happens...
I just want to wrap. I think it's just kind of suspicious. I think that perhaps he knew something. I don't know. You can't answer that, but I thought it was very odd when he did it. And I thought it was very odd a month later when they downsized that there was a correlation between him knowing something, but we can't answer that. All right, to segue to, you had a sit-down with Governor Dan Malloy. Speaking of jobs, he's going to launch a new jobs initiative in October, a special session. Tell us about your conversation with the governor and the move to get more jobs in Connecticut.
Sure. So basically the governor has been on a jobs tour for now about 3 months. He's been going around visiting companies around the state, trying to figure out what they need to help them grow jobs.
What's he hearing from them?
Well, he's hearing that there's a lot of frustration out there. The CBIA, which is the Connecticut Business and Industry Association, just came out with a survey that said 75% of businesses in Connecticut are either somewhat dissatisfied or dissatisfied with the business climate here. So there is frustration.
Very sobering news there, right?
Sure.
So what can you do to change that? He has this 5 pillars program where companies that are adding jobs can get some incentives. He's got the health care deal going on in Greater Hartford. He wants to really enhance health care and make that sort of a vibrant signature asset. What's he going to do to create jobs?
He hasn't disclosed specifically what plans are, but they're going to be related to workforce development in Connecticut.
Which means what? What does that mean?
One of the things that he's heard from businesses is that they're having trouble finding workers in certain positions.
Right.
Precision manufacturers, for example, high-skilled manufacturing, there's a sort of a disconnect between the colleges, vocational colleges, and what employers are looking for. So he will call for some workforce development policy issues. I also envision that he's going to propose some small business entrepreneurship type incentives to try to get entrepreneurs who have an idea or have a small company, give them the money so that they could try to invest it here in Connecticut and grow jobs and grow companies in the state.
That's probably the fastest sector to grow jobs. The small businesses, as they become successful, they grow and add jobs, and that's sort of the foundation, right, for adding more jobs.
Sure, that small businesses is where most of the job growth comes from.
Now, in Stanford, the governor did create jobs over there. Did he seem optimistic? What was his tone and tenor when you talked to him and sat down? And what did he...
He and his economic development chief, Catherine Smith, are optimistic. He has a good grasp of what's out there, what the business community, what their complaints are, what they sort of need. I think he is optimistic. In fact, Catherine Smith just announced that her goal for her department is to have 26,000 jobs created in 2012 alone. That's the number that they're putting out there that they're working for. And I think some of the policies that will come out of this special session will try to help that. And I'm also envisioning a second First Five program, which, as you had mentioned,
to broaden that pool.
Yeah, basically where the state is giving tax incentives and incentives for companies who add 200 jobs in the state over the next few years. And I think he'll do another program like that.
All right, folks, he is Greg Bordonado from the Hartford Business Journal. Thanks to all our guests, Donna Mori and Scott Gray. Don't forget you can catch our show 24/7 at ctnow.com/Dan. Friend us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. For the good folks here at Fox Connecticut, I'm Stan Simpson. Join Tim Lammers in the morning news next.